just snows.
No.
It is 9 o'clock. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome all of you here, open the courtroom and on Zoom land, and we're hoping to have a very nice memorial. Our first order of business is to hold a public hearing. Discussion, action on the recommendation from Dickinson County Planning and Zoning Commission. Take it away. Oh, I will officially open the public meeting.
All right, good morning. Okay, so the property is identified as parcel 0709400002. Is owned by the Toy Shed LLC, care of Arlen Keel. It is currently zoned A1 agricultural and consists of 38.74 acres. The request is rezone the property to R1 suburban residential. The future land use map also identifies this property as future residential. The R1 suburban residential district is defined as a transitional district between agricultural uses and more urban uses. Also, this property is not in the sanitary sewer district, and any development would also require the use of private septic systems. I also contacted the sanitary district, and there was a Ben Grown from Beck was asking for the same information for the property in February. The closest sanitary sewer that IGL SD has is over a half a mile away, and they have limited capacity in that sewer line. To get sewer out of this area would require a lift station at roughly a low end estimated cost of $3 million. The closest public sewer would be the city of Spirit Lake. City of Spirit Lake sewer system in this area has capacity issues due to infiltration and inflow for Steve Anderson. So, anyways, Mr. Keel would like to rezone this property for future use. He is not intending to develop it, but it is more marketable to buyers to have the R1 suburban residential district, because that allows for 1 acre lots and 150 feet of width versus the A1 agricultural district requires 10 acre lots. So I don't believe he's able to make it here today, but his statement that was included, he would just like the property. He would just like to sell the property as R1 for residential development. It is more marketable and less restrictive. So the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval on April 21st, 2025 with a 7-0 vote to you all. And that is what I have at the moment.
Is there any comment from the public? Yes, Steve. Please pull over the microphone. Introduce yourself.
Good morning, I'm Steve Anderson with the Red Lake Sanitary District. Megan read off the letter that I provided, which is factual. But what I wanted to ask you is something a little different today. So in the past, 2 zoning administrators ago, Dave Gotch and Glenn Peterson worked together as partners to extend sanitary sewer district sewer facilities for developments in the county. Just like the cities do, they use different funding sources. The cities pay for the sewer, the developers pay for the sewer facilities to get them in those areas. That's happened. It seems to have dropped off after Dave moved to become a county supervisor. So just as an example, East Okoboji Beach today continues to grow, has nicer houses continually going up in there. That wasn't happening prior to the sanitary district, sanitary sewer facilities being expanded out there. That was a TIF district by the county that paid for that sewer system. The sanitary district designed it, constructed, and now maintains that sewer facilities. Even going back further in the records, back when Maywood was actually in the county, Dave Colhassie and Glenn Peterson worked together the county paid for the sewer facilities to get expanded out there and to basically get sewer facilities there. So what I'm looking for is, can we look at evaluating this instead of having these situations where the county rezones something, turns it to septic systems, and then we're fighting over who should put sewer out there when it becomes a water quality issue. So there's a couple areas right now that I am getting asked multiple times from people, when are we going to expand our sewer facilities out there? Because these septic systems do not have the capabilities of being rebuilt in those areas. And the sanitary district, right now, we are working on everything we can to increase capacity in multiple areas. And then we got new people that want in because they can't sell their houses. So this is another situation that I'm concerned that if this gets rezoned, we're gonna have septic systems at some point, and we're gonna be going down the same path that we've gone down through for Center Lake, which we just spent over $6 million to do, to get that facilities, all that stuff installed. And we're looking at other areas that at some point, they're gonna be coming knocking on your door, asking you to help them, because they've got properties that they can't put new septic systems on. So if you're going to rezone this, I would say that's fine, but you need to rezone with a condition that no subdivisions approved until sanitary sewer systems are resolved. And that's between your board and our board, or your staff and our staff, to work that out, come up to a solution like we did historically, and get sanitary sewer facilities to these developments. So those are all, that's pretty much what I think you need to consider. To put this out there is going to basically recreate an issue that we've had, and we need to stop and figure this situation out. So, thank you.
So per the subdivision process, this is just the first step. The rezoning is literally just the preliminary steps in terms of development. The Planning and Zoning Commission, if and when a preliminary plat comes to them, well, actually, they have to meet with the Planning and Zoning Commission 3 times. They have to come in and present the plan as pre-application conference, and then they come back with a preliminary plat, and then they would come back with a final plat. There are many more steps to this than just the rezoning here today. And I would be happy to entertain public sewer, absolutely. If you could grab some calculations for that property, that would be fantastic.
It's not up to the sanitary district to figure that out.
Oh, okay.
It
I don't
doesn't,
know who it would be then.
well,
Anyways,
it's always been,
okay.
Well, it was.
She's just asking if you help, that's all.
well, when a developer does this stuff, they come and work with us. We work through the situation with them. The county is just basically like telling us to figure it out.
But they should know what capacity is available to them, shouldn't they? And you should have that information.
We have information when it's available, yes. But this is a complicated situation. You're
All
over
over.
a half, no, this is over a half a mile away from sanitary sewer,
I understand.
through wetlands, through multiple things. So this is not a situation that's a very simple thing to resolve. Which way is the sanitary sewer gonna go? City sanitary sewer is close. Can we do something that we could actually look at sewering Tusculum Beach with this development? There's a lot of options here that could go, but when the conversation is only going in one direction, we're willing to work with you, we're willing to sit down with you, have this conversation, but again, we're recreating the wheel. We're recreating East Okoboji Beach, East Okoboji Beach. We're in the process of recreating Center Lake with this. We're recreating Indian Hills Estates with this. So when do we sit down and have a conversation and work this out? It's between the 2 governmental entities. We need to figure this out. It's not about a developer. It's not about stopping development. It's about trying to figure out how the right way is to get sanitary sewer into these areas so we can protect the Idaho Great Lakes. That's what we're trying to do. That's what the sanitary district was established for back in the 1930s. And that's what we stand for today. So putting septic systems in this area is just going against the water quality efforts for the Idaho Great Lakes.
Anybody else have comments?
Mr. Keel is on his way, just letting the board know he was running late this morning. So,
Megan, have all the requirements through NRCS been met? Has there been a wetlands determination on that or anything?
I believe that Arlen reached out to them and there hasn't been on this specific 40,
Okay,
so. But I did not reach out to them, I'm sorry. But that would also be part of the subdivision process, if and when we were to get there.
okay,
Basically, he just wants to sell this piece of property, and then it's more marketable as an R1 suburban residential district than than the A1.
Does he have, maybe this is for him, does he have buyers lined up?
I do not know that, I'm sorry. But like I said, Lee just told me that he was on his way.
I was just curious on a timeline of everything.
Sure. There's been a lot of interest in this property in the past. And I've received several phone calls in regards to TIF districts to help with infrastructure. So it's not something that the county has not looked at, it's just that would be dependent upon if that's the conversation that would like to be had.
Well, Steve, have you already planned? Is there a plan there to lay out a sewer in that area?
In this area, no, because of the complications that we've got with the wetlands, with down at the bottom, because no matter what, there's gonna have to be a lift station. So which direction does that lift station go? Does it go to Center Avenue? Does it go to Lutheran Lakeside? Can we get the easements that we need to get if we go to Lutheran Lakeside, because that's where the closest sewer facility is for the sanitary district? Do we look at possibly taking over part of the city of Spirit Lake sewer system, pumping into there and then taking it to the sewer line in Center Avenue? What size do you build the lift station? Do you build it so that we can take all those properties in the south end of Erie that are on septic systems and also take everything from Tusculum Beach? There's a lot of options out there, and it all depends on how much money there is available to do all those options. But the sanitary district right now, I got $48 million worth of projects lined up between now and 2027. Those projects are actually, some of them have started, some of them are under construction, and there's another 50 million coming after that. So, we're in the process of trying to create capacity, improve facilities. Spirit Lake facilities, just for example, those lift stations have a lifespan of about 50 years. We're about 49 years. I mean, they'll go beyond that, don't get me wrong, but we try to keep those up. But the way that things have happened around Big Spirit Lake, the expansion that's happening, the expansion that's proposed, we're trying to build those lift stations for the future capacity. So the Orleans lift station is the first one. It's at the bottom. It's right behind the game, and that construction will start this fall. The pipe is sitting there in the road ditch, but kind of got delayed because we were working on easements with the Trails Board. So those systems are in place, and then the next plan is to start working our way up around the east and west side of Big Spirit Lake to start building capacity there. The biggest project that we got going on that's about 90% done. I'm actually missing the planning meeting for that right now, is the sewer line from the wastewater plant all the way up to Arnold's Park. So basically going to double the capacity. That pipe is not exceeding capacity right now. It's nowhere close to that. But we're planning for what is coming up above, because if you don't take care of it at the bottom end and work your way up, you're gonna have problems. Now, the reason why we can do Orleans is because that water splits between the east side and west side of East Okoboji. So there is options for us to start working a little bit to the north, a little bit on the south end. So, but getting the capacity for what you're asking for, getting that plan, there's a lot of questions on what we want to have sewered and how much people want to spend to do that.
Did you want to make a statement, Arlen? Did you want to make a statement? I know you.
Sure.
Okay. Basically, I read your development request. What's your name?
I'm Marlon Keel, from Francis Sites. I have the 80 that's in my Francis site there. We would like to read this.
No, that's, okay. No, I,
We would like to make that residential. We would like to make that residential, some want to sell it. And we're requesting that, so.
no, I read your
Okay.
development. Do you have anything to add to that?
So we'd like to bring it to the R1. So it's more marketable.
But you yourself are not developing it.
I'm not developing, no, somebody else. I'm gonna sell it and somebody else will.
And just to clarify, this is just the 34.64 acres. This is just he has 240s there. That's why he said 80. So I just want the board to know it's just the north 40 that is being considered today. And then, Lee, you had a question. Oh, Arlen.
Yeah.
Lee, I had a question before you arrived.
Yes,
I was just curious if you had people lined up to make this purchase, should it be rezoned?
I do.
So from a timeline, the plan would be then for them to develop it as soon as possible.
That's correct.
Thank you.
I've got a quick question.
And you are.
Barb Clayton, Orleans. Okay, I understand the owner's desire to sell this property. We hear that a lot about properties over in, I think this is the same area. Over by Francis Sites, is that kind of
Jordan, will
right?
you bring up the beacon map?
The one that you.
Yeah, the one that we talked about. So. This
Yeah.
is the Han Road that goes to Francis Sites. This is on the south side. There's residential to the north, there's residential to the west. And those 40s are all A1 agricultural.
Okay, yeah, so I'm thinking about the right area here. I understand the owner's desire to sell this, but rezoning it without the ability at this point to develop it, to rezone it, to sell it, to develop it, sounds a little on the extended promises side of what would be done for the sale of this. If we've got quite a while before sanitary sewer can get out there. And this is an area we may not want to have wells in. I think we need to kind of take that into consideration. So I just, you really promises to a buyer that might not be able to see what they want out of this land is something that needs to be truly considered. Thank you.
Are there any more public questions or input? If not, I'll close the public hearing and turn it over to the board. What are your thoughts? Well, let's have a motion and then we'll discuss it. If you want a motion.
I would make a motion to approve the rezoning to R1 residential from agricultural. It's still gonna take some development time and specs on it, but this is only the first step, and it can't proceed until it goes on through P&Z. But it would allow Mr. Keel to search for a buyer, and we make no promises to a buyer on what he can do with it. It makes it more saleable, and it's up to the buyer to get it get everything set up, and I do agree with Mr. Anderson 100% that maybe we should have a small group that work from the sanitary district and the supervisors that works together to kind of work on some future plans for development in a lot of these sensitive areas. Kind of like we did with Milford with the Lower Gar Bridge. You know, we met with them a number of times to, you know, find an agreement and find something that works out. But I would at this time motion that we go ahead with the rezoning.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second discussion.
I think there's too many questions to be answered at this time. I don't know how we would hold it up otherwise, but I think there's too many unanswered questions like Mr. Anderson brought up about sewer system and stuff, and I possibly table it until we can have a meeting and get together, decide what's better for the community.
Anybody else have anything to say?
I'd like to take Mr. Anderson's considerations into account as well, but it sounds like that's a ways down the future, and there's no I guess I personally don't have an issue with rezoning it, just as long as the communication is there and people understand that there's a lot that has to be done before you think, and I'm sure the developer knows that, but
Well, I also agree with Steve that we should have a group studying this in our county. From what he said, it could be like 2029 before anything could be done. And we've got someone here that has some property that he'd like to sell. Steve, can we tell people they've got to stop using their septic tanks if the sewer line goes through? It seems they did that on the east side of Big Spirit.
There's been
We disagree
Yeah.
on this topic. So if they are not in the sanitary sewer district, in my opinion, the sewer is not available. And so, no, you cannot require somebody to hook up to sanitary public sewer if they are not in the sanitary sewer district. If they're in the sanitary sewer district and they are serviced by a septic system and the line comes through and it's within, depending on whose code you're reading, either 150 feet or 200 feet, then they would be required to hook up to the sanitary sewer.
And if the sewer system comes in afterwards,
If they're still not in the district, that's the distinguishing factor. So,
how does one become part of the district?
thank
you
you.
can voluntarily annex in, or there can be forced involuntary annexation. It's also can be done by requesting this board of the public to do that. There's a couple ways under chapter 358 to do that.
And how far away are they from the present?
Right now, the closest that lot is over, a little over half a mile,
Half a mile.
except for the city of Spirit Lake sewer system, which would take it out of the county if they annexed into the city to get sewer. So. And the city and the sanitary district are working on a solution to their infiltration inflow in that subdivision or in that area. So that is moving forward with the city and the sanitary district.
Well, we've got a motion and a second. Steve?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Mr. Dullard?
No.
Mr. Marquardt?
this is just on the rezoning.
Correct.
Aye.
And I vote aye for the rezone. And I would like to see a group get together with the sanitary sewer district.
Yep.
Do I have any volunteers?
I'll do that.
I'll do it too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, move down. We'd like to get together with Mr. Anderson and set up a meeting. Okay, take good note. All right, next on our agenda is the Sioux Rivers Mental Health Update and Action. Beth, I believe you're in charge of this.
I want to give you a little fellow today.
I will. I will.
Oh, here this way.
As you know, I'm Beth Will, this is Sue Dune from the Sioux Rivers Mental Health Region. And our home is upstairs on the second floor here. What our mission today is to kind of give you an overview or an update on what's happening in the mental health realm. And Kim is the chair of the Sioux Rivers Governance Board, so feel free to intervene at any time. As you know, last legislative session, 2024, legislation passed for the mental health system to change and for HHS, Health and Human Services, to take over the system. So I kind of gave you two maps that you kind of got to get in your head and kind of flip back and forth for a little bit of our discussion. So this one, that's July 1 of 2024, is the current mental health regions as you see it today. Okay, so I just wanted you to know geographically who our players were and those counties with that. What's happening or what we're doing is transitioning into a new system. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of history, and then I think I'll get you up to speed of what we want to do today. Last fall, some RFPs were let out by the state for individuals to take over the mental health system. One, there was two again. One was for the ASO. We love acronyms in mental health, okay? So Area Service Organization. Area Service Organization is to take over the crisis services, mental health type services for the state. It was allowed to go out into districts. The state allowed that RFP to go to a facility called Iowa Primary Care. Iowa Primary Care now is statewide, going to provide those services. They're affiliated with community health organizations. For those of you, there's a new one that just developed in Spencer over the past couple months. They kind of oversee those. The other RFP that was let out was the DAP. Again, we love acronyms again. That's the Disability Access Points. And that's kind of the direction of our mental health. ASO is going to take over the mental health piece, crisis services, so forth. The DAP's going to take over intellectual disability, brain injury, intellectual disability, brain injury, developmental disability, and any physical disabilities. So we've got kind of two systems going on. With that, therefore, then we need to transition out of our Sioux Rivers mental health. State gave us directions, guidelines to do so, and we have been instructed that our regions cease business June 30th of this current year. So we're 30+ days away from all of that happening. We've been given a list of duties to do to close out that for the state. We had to develop a plan of which was approved by the Sioux Rivers Regional Board due April 1st to the state. We have not heard yet of the transition plan, whether that's been approved or denied yet. But we are moving forward because we know that this plan is gonna, new plan is gonna happen July 1st. So with that, we've got some business to do and some business to do later. Although we have been a little apprehensive on getting too far into the weeds with the transition plan because our plan from the state hasn't been approved yet. But I feel that we've waited till the bewitching hour to come before you with the plan and so forth for purposes of implementation. The first thing, order of business, I'm gonna turn over to Sue, is some release of information for our data on the county level. And there is some documents there. I'm gonna turn it over to her for that.
Okay, so essentially the region had to release our information to do DHS as the keeper of our service system. We did do that, I think that was last month. But not part of that is the mental health advocate data. And the mental health advocate data is owned by the counties because the county appoints the advocate. So with that, and the only way that all of our data is stored at ISAC under our community services network, it's called. And so in order for ISAC to release the data, each entity has to sign off on that release. And so we did that as a region. We did get an agreement from DHS kind of signing up, that's gonna pass those around, kind of, saying that they're taking ownership in the event that there's a breach somewhere. That because they have the information, they will release it as necessary. So that's what we got from DHS for the region is there as well. And then what they're asking for is the release of our mental health advocate data by the county. And that's the other page that Beth just gave to you. So
I think this is, I know Steve's reviewed this for us and also other attorneys. We really kicked this around hard at the regional board level as far as, are we HIPAA compliant? Are we, because this is client data, this is client information. And hence is the reason for that letter, and we ran this.
we had attorneys meet with DHS. We had DHS's HIPAA people meet in that meeting as well. Kim was on that meeting. So that's hence the letter from Teresa Armstrong with DHS that she sent to the region that said, basically we're taking ownership of if that gets re-released incorrectly, it's on us, kind of a thing. And I think Steve can agree that's probably the best we're going to get from the state, is that letter.
Yes, we can do.
Yeah. So anyway, with that, we would ask that you look at citing the release for that advocate data. There will be more to come on our advocate. We're still working through that process as well. So how much we want to go in without having our plan approved.
Yeah. So Bill, I guess what we're asking for is kind of a two-step process today. We have this agreement, and I don't know if you want to act on that or you want us to go into the other agreement and do them both at the same time. It's up.
Well, that will be with the other association that takes
Yeah, the
care
other
of the
one, yeah.
mental and
Mhm.
physical.
So if you want to take care of this one first, go ahead.
Right.
So the proposed resolution that we have attached, resolution 2025-19, working with the state and kind of getting things last minute, I think, from them. There is a resolution 2025-19 approving agreement between Dickinson County and Collaborative Individual and Community Supports.
So we're doing the release to release the data right now. We'll just pass through them.
Not
I
yet.
don't have that. I wasn't one.
You just pass it around.
Just do.
For the rest of the board members to understand, we are transitioning from a region to the state district. In doing that, we have to pass along somehow the mission of those clients that need services. We held out as long as we possibly could because we were worried about, we were worried about HIPAA, we were worried about release of that information and what could come back on the region. Steve did a lot of work on this, as did other attorneys, and like he said, this is the best agreement that we could come up with, or they would allow. Because we need to have this transition happen, or what, are they gonna get care? Because we're done officially, as they said, June 30th. So this is like a relay race where you're passing the baton, and you have to trust that the one you're passing the baton to isn't gonna drop it. And that's kind of where we at here. So I'll make a motion to approve this agreement.
And what is the title of that agreement?
Agreement between Iowa Department of Health and Human Services and Sioux Rivers Mental Health. This would disabilities region. And do you have one of these, Jordan?
No.
I'll make sure you get.
Mine now.
Here.
So I haven't seen it.
Worries. We're citing the ISAC one, Jordan, it's there's two separate ones. One is the one that DHS approved for us.
So the CICS.
No,
Separate.
I know, but what is that one?
Wait,
different, we're not there
not
yet.
yet. Hang tight.
Very confusing, isn't it, Jordan?
It is
It is.
very confusing.
I'll make a motion to release that information.
We do have a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. Tim?
Aye.
Levi?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Dollard?
Aye.
And Bill is aye.
You. So the second part of this now is the transition. The transition, other duties that need to be done in order for Sioux Rivers to exit. We will need to terminate the 2080 agreement with Dickinson County and Sioux Rivers. So we will be back for purposes of action of terminating that agreement. Even though we know it's June 30th, I'm a little reluctant on moving forward because we haven't gotten our transition plan from the state approved yet. We have documents ready and
We do.
waiting.
And part of it is that the state will not let us officially like terminate June 30th. We terminate as far as services go, but we have to continue to pay the services through June. So we'll have to stay open at least into July to get everything from June received and paid. And they've said we could stay open as long as up to 6 months. That is not our intention. That is not our plan. That is not what we put in our closeout plan. We want to terminate as quickly as possible, and that's July 31st. But until we get DHS to say, yes, our plan is approved, we can't terminate the region without a final drop dead date. So that's why we're in limbo of, we thought we'd have it long before now, and we're still waiting.
Will the providers get the bills in?
Well, we did send out letters. That's a good question, Bill. We did send out letters in March, I think it was, with this is the date you must have them to us. If you do not get them to us, you will not get paid. We have reiterated that at every single monthly provider meeting that we have, that this is the drop dead date. You will get it here, you will not get paid. And I will say our providers have been very current in getting their bills paid because they know what's coming. Well, they know as much as we know what's coming anyway. So yeah, they're being pretty quick to the draw and wanting their bills paid. So.
I think what's really important is there's so many still, as we sit here at this point in May, there are so many unknowns with this about how we're going to take care of patients and provide services and how services are going to be provided and where they're going to go. Because economically, we're not sure we're going to be able to keep all the providers that we have. And the providers are worried about that too. Why wouldn't they be? And the bottom line, this should be patient care. And Sue and Beth do a phenomenal job with the patients that we have. I mean, I know we're in a region or district now, but I'm mostly concerned about Dickinson County. And our Dickinson County patients are well served by Beth and Sue and what we need to do for them. But moving forward, there are so many unknowns. So stay tuned and we're trying.
Yeah. So at some point we will have to terminate that 2080. Like I said, we've got that ready. We just can't bring it to you until the state says they've approved our plan. So
Likewise, we'll have to terminate the current mental health advocate.
we did that already.
Oh, we did that already.
Terminated
Okay.
it, yeah. We'll have to reappoint the advocate yet though. But we terminated it with the region or with our county,
With our counties. But yeah, we don't have the rules yet on appointing a new one with purposes of rates and so forth yet, because those haven't been set yet, so we'll wait. So moving forward, let's go to this map. Now we're in a district, we're not in a region, we're in a district. New terminology again. So as you see, Dickinson County has kind of moved east. We're now, we split, so you kind of have to look at both maps together a little bit to figure out geographically who went where and who now Dickinson County plays within the district. So moving forward, we still have Iowa Primary Care working on their RFP. They are in the process of hiring individuals to cover the navigation. Those are gonna be what we call service coordinators, navigators, for purposes of the crisis services, mental health services, community mental health center activities and so forth.
SUD services is rolled into that as
Yep.
well.
The prevention SUD services that currently public health got rolled into that this year. The other piece, or the DAP, is where I kind of want to go next. So the DAP, again, keeping track of the coordination, and they are also called navigators for the developmentally disabled, intellectual disabilities, brain injuries, physical disabilities, now has been awarded, and the individual, and this is Jordan, where you get your CICS, and this was in your board packet, has been awarded for District 2, 3, and 6. So 2, 3, 6 was awarded to what is now called County Social
Central Iowa.
Services, has renamed themselves. They're gonna take those 3 districts to provide those DAP services. So CICS, same acronyms, but it's collaborative, individual, and community support. That's the agreement that's in your packets. The CIS board approved that last Thursday for purposes of entering into a contract with Dickinson County to provide those services for our individuals in the Northwest Iowa. The details are in there. This is a very similar agreement that what Dickinson County had with Sioux Rivers. The difference is we're kind of taking a different approach of different populations. The mental health is kind of out, although there'll be a little dip in and so forth. But this is basically to navigate for the individuals of Dickinson County. This agreement, they'll also want coverage for Dickinson, Emmett, and maybe Palo Alto at this point. That's kind of a moving part yet, because number one, we don't know yet what all services we're not gonna be able to provide because the state hasn't kind of finalized all of that yet. But in order to get up and running for July 1st, Russell Wood, who is the CEO for these 3 districts, has insight and oversight to get the ball rolling so we don't have any gaps in services. The thing with the change, major change from Sioux Rivers into this district is the district, CICS, doesn't really have the funding of which the Sioux Rivers had before. We are going to be able to only do some short-term services in here. So a lot of the services for our provider's sake, the providers are going to be billing the state directly. So it kind of takes that bill paying and all of that chasing bills down, Bill, as you mentioned earlier, out of this system. The DAP is really a navigator. Information and referral, options counseling, connectors, whatever you want to call that. That's kind of the change. But we're still getting the funding to pay for the services. We'll still contract this, and that's basically in this agreement. Kim had the opportunity to meet with Russell a couple times, I think, in reference to visions and districts and transitioning from the Sioux Rivers to the DAP. I don't, Kim, any insight you wanna, with conversations with Russell?
I think the thing that I walked away with, Beth, more than anything is his concern about no gap being there. He's very adamant about taking care of folks. That's his number one concern, and he's got the folks, I believe, that can do that. You're gonna be a big part of that, you guys. And so I think that it's important that we try to see that, because like Steve said, there's so many unknowns yet because the state's so late in getting that to us, but they iterate as well that there's not gonna be a gap. I can tell you with the CICS and my meetings with them, they're very serious and well planned out of how to make that so there isn't.
We do have, not to see the guy standing in the back row, but, example, jail services are kind of one of those services that are up in the air. We're not sure who's gonna pay for those. I mean, that's a vital service. Jail diversion has been a big thing in mental health. And that is something that is kind of hanging up in the air. That's just an example of one of the services. Providers have some concerns because they don't have contracts. They don't have contracts yet for starting July 1st, as far as what services are they going to be able to provide and or possible rates. I mean, so there's a lot of unknown things here that have really got to come to play in the next few days. So with this, I'd like to request that the board approves this 28E agreement between Dickinson County and CICS. And so we don't have a gap, but we can have coverage moving forward.
I'll make that motion.
Do you want that resolution read?
Please.
Resolution 2025-19 approving agreement between Dickinson County and Collaborative Individual and Community Supports. Whereas Dickinson County chooses to enter into an agreement with Collaborative Individual and Community Services, CICS. CICS requests that Dickinson County retain the human resources services to include personnel and administration support, payroll management and benefit administration, and all other services as defined in the 2080 agreement. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Dickinson County, Iowa on this 27th day of May 2025 that the 28E agreement between Dickinson County and CICS has passed and been approved.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, been moved and seconded, further discussion? Sounds like this is the only game in town, so. Bend over and like it, or bend over and don't like it, yeah. If there is no discussion, Kim?
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Dollard, Mr. Clark,
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
And Bill is aye. We're part of CICS, yay.
Bill, we'll need 2 copies of that.
I have time. I'll get them signed at the end.
Thank you guys for what you do.
We will be back.
I'm sure you would.
Hopefully with more info.
We know we have.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
guys.
Okay, next on our agenda is approval of liquor licenses for Black Back Pocket Brewing Company, LLC. What's my understanding, these are for private parties. And it's, the contact person on this is Whitney Daniels, and their insurance, company is, Illinois Casualty.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Clark moves.
I'll second.
Levi seconds, further discussion.
And just to remember that there are 2 licenses here.
Yes, there are 2.
Same
I
time.
thought we could do them at
Yep.
the same time.
Yep.
This is the same person.
So
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
Mr. Dollard,
Aye.
Kim,
Aye.
and Bill is aye. Number 5, Number 5 is the approval of the May 20th, 2023 board meeting minutes. Did anyone see anything amiss?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Kim moves, Mr. Dollard seconds, further discussion. As there is none, Kim,
Aye.
Mr. Dullard,
Aye.
Mr. Clark,
Aye.
Levi,
Aye.
and Bill is aye. Item number 6 is approval of claims. It's listed on May 27, 2025 claims register. Does anyone find anything amiss on that? So you all know what a swivel gripper wrench is. Yeah, I knew Steve would. Basically, it's an oil filter wrench. It has a big circle and a handle. Okay, if there is no problem with the bills, I'd take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Clark moves,
I'll second.
Levi seconds, further discussion. Hearing none, Mr. Clark,
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
Mr. Dullard.
Aye.
Kim.
Aye.
And Bill is aye. Okay, item number 7. Is also going to take care of item 8 and 9, according to Ms. Moyer. These are the drainage claims. We start out with stamped warrant, Drainage District 15. Lawson Excavation and Trucking for $23,750. Leonard Jansen for $500, and DTK Farms Incorporated for $3,335.20.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Kim has moved, Mr. Dullard second. Further discussion? As there is none, Kim.
Aye.
Mr. Dullard.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
And Bill is aye. The second one is stamped warrant, Drainage District Joint 61, Branch 110-45. The Rosacker Excavating for $440.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Levi.
I'll second.
I believe Mr.
Yep.
Dullard was a
Sure
little
did.
quicker there. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, Levi.
Aye.
Mr. Dullard.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Kim.
Aye.
And Bill is aye. Now, other joint districts are as follows. Joint Drainage District 2, Dickinson and Osceola. Dickinson County Secondary Roads for $1,172.48.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Kim has moved, Mr. Clark is seconded, further discussion. Hearing none, Kim.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
Mr. Dullard.
Aye.
And Bill is aye. Matt. Jordan, did you wish to speak on those others?
We got them.
We got them. Excellent. Good work. Okay, now we are to item number 10, discussion action on resolution 2025-18, moratorium on future wind energy conversion systems. Jordan, would you like to read that resolution?
Resolution 2025-18, moratorium on future wind energy conversion systems. Whereas Iowa Code Chapter 335 empowers counties to regulate land use within its jurisdictional boundaries and to enact regulations to protect the health and general welfare of its citizens. And whereas the constituents of Dickinson County represent citizens who are concerned and oppose future wind energy conversion systems, WECs, occurring within Dickinson County and have communicated their views verbally and through written documents. And whereas industrial and commercial WECs have the potential to create an excessive burden on Dickinson County's infrastructure, environment, wildlife, and non-participating landowners. And whereas Dickinson County has a responsibility to review its ordinances and comprehensive land use plan as situations change. The Dickinson County Comprehensive Land Use Plan has not been updated since 2006 and now contains outdated information regarding WECs. And whereas the current Dickinson County zoning ordinance governing WEX, including the conditional use permit process, is insufficient to protect the peace, safety, health, and welfare of Dickinson County citizens and should be revisited. And whereas the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors supports a moratorium to represent the public interest of the residents, the natural resources of the land, water, and environment of Dickinson County. Now therefore it be resolved by the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors that a moratorium is imposed on accepting, reviewing, and considering all new WEX applications pursuant to Dickinson County zoning ordinance Article 21, Section 5D for a period of 2 years. The Dickinson County Board of Adjustment shall not accept, consider, or approve any conditional use permits for WEX during the moratorium. And be it further resolved, this moratorium shall include industrial or commercial projects such as, but not limited to, solar, wind, battery storage, and biomass for the same 2-year period. And be it further resolved, this moratorium does not include the Red Rock Wind Project application passed by Dickinson County Board of Adjustment on April 30th, 2025.
Thank you, Jordan. Anyone have anything to say about the resolution? Hey, yes.
Morning, everybody. Patrick Kelly, Okoboji. I hope we all remembered the fallen yesterday. I think that we have a chaotic mess here going on with a bunch of different things. And specifically, this moratorium, it doesn't even seem to be, in a logical sense, consistent. On the one hand, we're not going to have any application with respect to Red Rock. But at the same time, there's basically a slam on the way that things have been working over the last year, 2 or 3 years. It's right referenced here. On top of that, we have a situation in Congress where it's not even clear where Trump and his bill are going to be by 4th of July. There may not be any tax credits for turbines. Does anybody absorb that, what that means? I think it's time for the group, you folks, with all due respect, pump your brakes on what's going on the turbines and get some scientific analysis on what the hell is going on with our infrastructure. Now, I'm not going to go on and on and on here, but I would strongly urge you to hire some divers and go out to see how much refuse and garbage is in Westlake. I can see it right off my dock in Echo Bay. There's junk that came off of the storm. There needs to be some science here in terms of what the hell is going on with our lakes. It's a precious resource. Does anybody know how much refuse is in the lakes? How much garbage is blown off in terms of like the hoists that were destroyed and the docks that were destroyed? I know when I walked down around south of the park before the ice game, there was a lot of debris. Then I walked down there after the ice went out, the debris was gone. Now, what happened to the debris? Well, what happened to the debris is probably it's out in the lake. And when we have a big storm, we're going to have more debris come in. So, hey, my urge is do the science. Don't do anything with respect to the windmills. Put it on hold. See what the heck the federal government's going to do. You know, we're in a chaotic, volatile situation. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Haley Van Loon. I'm an attorney with the Brown Winnick Law Firm in Des Moines, and I represent Red Rock Wind. I was here a few weeks ago when the moratorium was first discussed. I got a copy of the moratorium this morning, so I haven't had a great deal of time with it, but I tried to at least give it an initial read. It appears, at least at first glance, that some of the concerns that we raised during the last meeting have been addressed in terms of breadth of the moratorium and how it could be interpreted. We did want to reiterate, though, that we want to be crystal clear in terms of what the moratorium would apply to. And we do have some continued concerns regarding the breadth. Because while Red Rock has a CUP, I'm gonna sort of refer to that as an umbrella permit, additional permits will be needed for the project. So just not as an exhaustive list, but road use, decommissioning, things like that. We want to be crystal clear that this moratorium and any prohibitions on the consideration of applications or further permits don't apply in those instances. And again, we'd probably appreciate the time to take a closer look at the ordinance since the language we just saw this morning, but that is, given the limited time, some of our feedback. We certainly appreciate that opportunity. Thank you.
Good morning, Chris Van Cleek from Milford. There are a couple facts that I just want to reiterate. We hear a lot of information and a lot of speculation about taxes and money and all those kinds of things, but there are two facts to be considered in this moratorium and the timing of this. One is that there have been letters to my neighbors asking for interest in solar. And of course, that's their right to do that. So there's one fact. Another fact is that there is an FAA approved wind turbine, industrial wind turbine project for Northwest Dickinson County. It is in place. It is available for someone to use as an application. And so I think it's prudent for our county to have this moratorium enacted. I thank you for your work on that. And I hope that you will pass that and just put a pause to this potential next application in Northwest Dickinson County. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tom Butler, 602 39th Street, Spirit Lake, Iowa. Thank you. You have quite an undertaking ahead of you in the decision making here. Moratorium. I'm not sure exactly why we need a moratorium. And if so, from what I've been told, a lot of times a moratorium is about 6 to 12, maybe 18 months. Why 2 years? And to me, when I hear the term moratorium, to me it means stall, delay, postpone. Solar was singled out along with some others, and I didn't catch all the other things that were mentioned there. I'm not sure why solar has to be singled out. Are you going to come back with more stops or additional moratoriums on maybe the many nuclear projects that could come about? To me, it's time to move on. It's time to let it go. We have to look and move ahead. Emotions versus facts. We've got to separate them out. For years in marketing of grain or in financial services and products, I've encouraged people to look at the real verified facts. Don't let the emotions take over and lead you into a decision. You have to look at the long term.
what is the good of the whole? Last evening, happened to be listening to a memorial program. And it was stated, what are we doing? We are doing for others. And to me, by creating electricity in our own home area, what we are doing for others. Thank you.
Any further comment?
I'm gonna say something very similar to what I said 2 weeks ago when we were here. We've filled up this courthouse many, many nights in a row. And we've heard from people at about a 3-to-1 rate that they want to readdress our current ordinance and they want to be heard. The people did not feel heard in the revision of this ordinance. And so we do need time, we need time to see how this current project affects this county, how it's gonna affect our roads, how it's gonna affect the tourism, how it's gonna affect the neighbors, how it affects the people that live in this county. In Palo Alto County, there's a letter and they talked about their setback. And how, I believe it was 1,500 feet, 1,500 foot setback. They got complaints from people living in that project area. And the project was already up, there was nothing they could do. So they revised their ordinance, they increased the setback to 2,650, I believe it was over 2,600 feet. Because they had that time in there, they could address an issue. Once these are up, you cannot address those issues. We have, as Chris said, that one project, Waiting the Wings up by Lake Park. There was also an FAA application that has expired for the full, it would bring our full eastern side of our county up into the Minnesota border. It is gonna cover the full eastern side of the county. So it's time, we've got an environmentally sensitive area. Let's appreciate that. Let's appreciate our neighbors. Let's give this time to settle in. Thank you.
Anybody else? Right. Board, do you have comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Been moved by Mr. Dullard to approve.
I'll second.
Seconded by Levi. Discussion. Moved and seconded.
I'll just address some of the comments. First, again, thank you for the opportunity to revise this. Our first attempt definitely came through with lots of inexperience. I did take your constructive criticism seriously. I hope you can see the changes in the revisions. As stated last week, I did talk with Mr. Goodlow and Megan both about how this can be improved. And I think that the revision is a lot more detailed and clear. Pam, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Haley Van Loon.
Haley, thank you for your comments. This moratorium, as it says in the very last line, does not include the project that was passed, Red Rock Wind project that was passed by the Board of Adjustments on April 30th. And my intention is that anything that is needed or has to be included with that project is is included with that project. And so, with respect to the process of government, I'm not trying to change things that have already been approved. I'm trying to put a pause on what's gonna happen in the future. I just think that 2 years will give us, originally, after talking with Mr. Goodlow, he said I really needed to revise the length. And after discussing with him and with Mr. Dullard, we backed down to obviously 2 years. And we think that that will give us an opportunity to kind of just take a big, deep breath and see where we're at. That'll give us time to, as a county, address the comp land use plan, any ordinances that need to be revisited. That is the goal with that 2 year period. Thank you.
Tim?
I think as a county supervisor, we represent people on both sides of this issue. And I have constituents who are as strongly in favor of wind turbines as you may have against them. And I think it's important that we remember Dickinson County has had experience with wind turbines for nearly 20 years. And today, after being updated, we have a stronger wind energy ordinance than when the nearly 500-foot turbines were put up in Westport Township a number of years ago on the west side of the county. I support the right of landowners to choose to place them on their property for income. Zoning laws, regulations, and our wind energy ordinances are in place to determine where those turbines are placed. I cannot support a moratorium.
And Mr. Clark, I know you have to recuse yourself.
But I want to make some comments, if I may.
Well, I don't know if you can. Can you? Steve, can you?
Make his own comments, but I mean, you declared your conflict. It's up to you, Mr. Clark.
Okay, I'll refrain from comments.
Okay. Just trying to save
Okay.
some legal problems. As I looked at this, obviously, I was glad to see that shortened from 6 to 2. I thought that was smart. I still worry about the word moratorium. Sounds like, yeah, well, it's only 2 years. Well, 2 years are up. Well, let's extend it 2 years. Let's, continues to be extended. Like him, I think farmers need a break. If they can get more income, I'm all for that. And then there's this phrase in here, and I'm probably clear off base. It says, well, the other thing, talked about there may not be tax. Well, that's a wind energy company's problem, not ours. They may decide we can't afford to do this. But this one section that says, be it further resolved, this moratorium shall include industrial or commercial projects, such as, but not limited to. Well, I think if Target wanted to build a store here, that would be a commercial project. And we would have to tell them, no, you can't do it for 2 years. So, like Kim, I cannot support the moratorium. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Mr. Dullard.
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
Kim.
No.
And I am no. It fails for lack of a majority vote. Moving on, number 11, discussion of lower guard FEMA process. Jeff?
Board. The next update is we have gone through the requirements that FEMA has asked of us using Nathan's information from the University of Iowa. We will be submitting a response today to FEMA. Once we hear back from them, we'll have another report.
And Anybody reviewed that?
I reviewed it Friday. And it's gonna be going out
You
today.
actually did that, you actually do the answer the questions, or did you and John get together, or how was that handled?
John and I got together,
And
as we needed.
any outside help reviewing maybe for clarity or anything?
No, I didn't bring any outside help because I didn't want to delay the submittal any.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to today's agenda. The first item we have is to approve request repairs on DD 5 for repair of a Y in the tile. And to reimburse Todd Mark for repairs, which were $1,542.36.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Clark moves,
I'll second.
Kim seconds, further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Kim.
Aye.
Mr. Dullard.
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
And Bill is aye.
Thank you. The second item we have is to discuss and inform the board of quotes received for repairs on DD 2 for tile not draining due to obstruction underneath the road. Remember, this is what we talked about a couple of weeks ago about getting bids to bore underneath N14 to allow for proper drainage. If you look at the first sheet of the bid tab, we see two bids. McCarty Custom was $32,000, Radcliffe Directional Drill was $17,284. We recommend Radcliffe Directional Drilling. We have the money in our budget to take care of that. This will replace the pipe from right away to right away.
Any idea when they'd start on that?
Basically, I didn't get really start time. If you look at the bottom, there's projected completion. They're looking to be done by August 15th of this year.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Mr. Clark moves,
I'll second.
Mr. Dullard seconds, further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Dullard.
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
Kim.
Aye.
And Bill is aye.
Item number 3 is discussed and inform the board of quotes received for repairs of road culverts in various locations. We received, if you look at the second sheet of the packet I gave you. We had two bids, one from Diamond Concrete, second from Floor Construction. Diamond Concrete was a low bid of $72,269.75. We would recommend for our Diamond Concrete to replace the culverts in the road right away.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Clark moves,
I'll second.
Kim seconds, further discussion?
I'm just curious on how long that takes to. How long will the road be closed? And I'm just curious.
I think at each location, it varies because some will be a full replacement, some will be a partial replacement. Some of the roads are, most of the roads are gravel roads, so low traffic, but we'll try to get them closed down, and open back up within a day.
Oh,
I think you have a completion of October 1st.
If there's no further discussion, Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Kim.
Aye.
Mr. Dullard.
Aye.
Levi.
aye.
And Bill is aye.
Item number 4 is to discuss and inform the board of quotes received for repairs of ditch slough in DD 1. This is one we talked about. You guys remember there's about 250 feet, I think, of slough that happened. It's kind of a remote area, so we talked about, getting quotes for now and wait until a dry period. We received one quote from Diamond Concrete, the amount of $9,545. And they're hoping to get it done by September 1st, but I will work with them to make sure it is dry before we do any more.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Clark moves,
I'll second.
Kim seconds, further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Kim.
Aye.
Mr. Dullard.
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
And Bill is aye.
And the last item I have for you today, we talked about a couple meetings ago, I believe, is to consider employment of Dylan Whitrock as a seasonal part-time employee beginning as soon as tomorrow, May 28th. The pay rate is $17 an hour with a maximum of 1,000 hours. This is also in our budget.
Motion to approve.
Kim moves,
I'll second.
Levi seconds, further discussion. Hearing none, Kim,
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
Mr. Clark,
Aye.
Mr. Dullard,
Hi,
and Bill is aye.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff.
Okay, item 13 is discussion action on additional handicap parking spaces at the courthouse.
I will take the lead on this. I got an email from Chris Rowley last Thursday about, can we do something about some additional handicap parking on the east side of the courthouse here on Hill Avenue? And I ran over to the Spirit Lake City offices and nobody was around there but a secretary. And so I probably mistakenly took it on myself to get a hold of Berlin out at the shop at Spirit Lake. And we put a couple of placards up with handicap signs on them. Well, by Friday morning, we were informed by the city of Spirit Lake that that wasn't our job, that was their jurisdiction. So I would like a blessing from the rest of the board to attend a Spirit Lake City Council meeting and offer my apologies and also request for them to maybe put 2 more handicap parking spaces on the north end of the parking on the west side of Hill, right out here, to assist in our handicapped veterans. That's the closest entrance for them to get to the courthouse. And if we had a couple more handicapped parking spaces there, I think that would help them a lot in being able to access it a little bit better. Otherwise, they have to park on the west side of the building and come all the way through, or they have to park in the south and come all the way up around, or the only handicap parking out there is clear on the south end. There's one. So I would like I said, the kind of the board's blessing to be able to go to the city council and approach them with that matter.
I'm good with that. I'd make that motion.
Okay, Mr. Dullard moves,
I'll second.
Levi seconds, further discussion.
They meeting tonight?
Hmm?
Are they meeting tonight?
I have to find, didn't take any more steps until I
Smart.
like got on the right side of things.
Very wise.
Smart.
I will find out and attend as soon as I can.
I'll go with you.
If there is no further discussion, Mr. Dullard,
Hi.
Levi.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Kim.
Aye.
And Bill is aye. We're now down to general discussion, board and committee reports. Kim?
I attended the Dickinson County Osceola Joint Drainage District 3 public hearing in Harris. We discussed reclassification and the projects that are going to be completed. And that's having work done is in Osceola County, but we're part of that drainage district. Appreciated the other supervisors that could also attend. I went on a road check on Lakeshore Drive, north of Pikes Point. A resident reached out about the road needing repair. And there is quite a difference. There's been a lot of construction over around Pikes Point. So I talked with Jeff. He also is going to check it out, but he said it is scheduled for an overlay in 2027. So it is something we're aware of. We let them know that if there are potholes or something bad, we certainly will take care of those prior to that. I attended the ribbon cutting for the Terrace Park Family Beach. I'm gonna tell you something, if you get a chance and have not been there yet, go down and sit on just that. Hats off to West Okoboji. They've done a tremendous job of redoing that down there. They have more parking spaces. They have a safe crosswalk. It's just a beautiful facility down there. They had a number of people who attended their ribbon cutting and they appreciated the input that the county had as well as many other sources that helped them, but beautiful project. I want to give a shout out to the Spirit Lake and Okoboji High School boys track teams who are co-state track champions. That's a big deal and unbelievable to have two schools in our county do that. Congratulations also to the Spirit Lake High School girls track team who finished fourth in the state. My goodness, what a great representation they had down there. I also enjoyed a wonderful Memorial Day weekend with family and friends, as I hope you all did as well.
Thank you, Mr. Dillard.
Yes, sir. Well, as Kim mentioned, we attended the joint drainage district meeting in Harris as well. And then Tuesday evening, I believe last week I mentioned that Monday evening we'd opened up to distribute the stuff for Upper Des Moines. And we opened the church up again Tuesday night to distribute the stuff. Although it wasn't well attended, it just shows we need to get a lot more information out there next time. So it was a learning experience from that respect. It was better attended that night, but still not what we need. I had difficulty getting some volunteers there on short notice at the church. So I reached out to Dirt Road Ministries and got with their staff and their clients. And a portion of their procedures is that the clients and the staff have to engage in volunteer work, ministry service, or community outreach events. And I can take the time to publicly thank them for their assistance to the community and to our church. Thursday, Bill and I had the veterans meeting, and I'll let you go over all of those details. And that at 11 o'clock with a lot of the county employees, Mr. Clark, Mr. Marquardt, I saw Lori and Megan, and we attended the TIF training class. Saturday, I also did the food pantry at the church to finish up with the UDMO Upper Des Moines products, and it's our regular week to be open as well, weekend. And that's it.
Well, that sounds like quite a load there. Mr. Clark.
I had kind of a light week. Tuesday, I attended the individual Okoboji Middle School graduations for a couple of kids in the school, for one of them with my grandson. Thursday, I went to the TIF conference. It kind of falls in line with what Mr. Anderson was talking about earlier. You know, are there things we can do to promote some cooperation between the county and the sanitary sewer district to maybe move some things along a little faster than they have been progressing in the past. Thursday night, I had a fun night. I went to the Cyclone tailgate party down at the Roof Garden. So, and Friday we had a YES board meeting, Youth Emergency Services. I did not go to Cherokee, but I attended by Zoom. They're going to raise their prices slightly more in line with the other areas. If you're a member county, they're going up from $150 a day to $175. And if you're a non-member, they're going up from $200 to $250. There's still a lot of demand for it. They averaged this last month 13.4 clients per day out of 15 beds. There were some days they had 17 kids there. You know, by the time they would bring some in and be able to dismiss some later in the day. There's a huge call for transport clear to the other side of the state, to Bettendorf and to Dubuque, and it's really keeping their transportation operation going. And currently that has aided a lot in keeping the doors open because the state has cut their funding this year, of course. It was a last minute deal in the legislature where some deals were made and this was left out. So the funding is going to go down to 175,000 instead of 200,000. But, you know, they're making money at the transport, so hopefully that'll work. They also had the first thing that happened in 35 years of that facility being open. They had an escape.
Oh.
was contained within 2 hours. If you go in and look at something like that, they have all this stuff on the windows and stuff, and somehow a young man got, I don't know whether he snuck a spoon or a fork handle or something in, but he dug out a safety screening frame and all kinds of stuff and got himself out and jumped from the second story down to the ground and was limping away, but by then they had notified everybody and he got about 2 blocks. It was contained, but first time in 35 years, I guess that's not too bad a deal. So other than that, they're on track with their projections for income and expenses. They're still working on trying to get raised up to 20 beds. That's a negotiation between all the different service areas. That's kind of what fell through at the last minute because, Polk County right now only utilizes half of the beds they have. They have staff for it all, but they don't utilize the beds. They just collect money for beds that they have, not beds they use. And so there's ongoing negotiations in there to distribute those out amongst the counties or the areas that have full dockets. So, and other than that, I had a nice quiet weekend celebrating Memorial Day.
Good. At least you're doing better than the Louisiana prison.
That's right.
Levi.
As mentioned, I was at the Harris meeting, or the meeting with Osceola Board and Harris, and on Tuesday, Wednesday, I had a meeting with public health. I got some literature for vaping and tobacco use for my gym and using the county resources and to hopefully eradicate some issues, maybe get in front of a few things before they become a problem. On Thursday last week, I was also at the TIF meeting hosted by the board. And let's see here, that would have been my week. This next upcoming week, I'm actually gonna go and spend some time with my daughter down in Florida, so.
Good for you.
It'll be a long weekend, but better, it's been 6 months, and so she has to put up with dad now.
Awesome. As for my part, I also was at Harris for the Joint Drainage District meeting. And as Mr. Dullard said, we met with the vets. They're starting to move, wouldn't you agree? The phrase that I've used with Mr. Heidebrink is you seem to be plowing the same ground at these meetings. And this meeting, they're actually starting, they've got their folders printed up. I'd invite you all to see one of those, perhaps donate. They're talking to businesses. Harry's already talked to 60 some. So they're moving. They're moving. That's all I have. Anything for the good of the cause out here? If not, I'd take a motion to adjourn. Clark, second. And for dollars and seconds. Further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Dullard.
Aye.
Levi.
Aye.
Kim.
Aye.
Mr. Leopold is aye.
Were you ill?
Adjourned in